This is Common Sense Radio. Straightforward and no excuses.
All right. Come on now.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Call me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
What I said was perfectly right and spot on accurate.
Boy's got a mouth like a cannon, always shooting it all.
Stop.
Got it.
Stop. I mean, you're way off script.
Got it in me. Gonna quit until it all comes out.
Hey, boy.
Been a long education.
Yeah, it's not cynical. It's common sense.
Pay attention to me when I'm talking to you.
I'm gonna rock the nation. Rock the nation.
Genuine, accountable, and raw. Here is Steve Gruber.
It is Free for All Friday, my friends. 888-900-9966. 888-900-9966. So I was having this conversation on Facebook yesterday. I saw one of my friends on Facebook post up this completely nonsensical post. It's one of those things you see all the time where they take some comment from somebody and post it up and try to apply it to make a blanket statement. And it was making a blanket statement about Republicans being racist, right? So I responded by going and finding some choice quotes from famous Democrats actually saying very racist, horrible things, up to and including Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, whose sole purpose in founding Planned Parenthood was to exterminate black people. Go ahead, do your homework, and I can assure you that is exactly accurate. So in response to that, my friend on the posting referred to me as an angry person who has extremist views. And I'm like, really? Extremist views? Could you elaborate on those? This anger and these extremist views? Because I posted and said I was off topic. Off topic? You're accusing Republicans of being racist. So I posted actual quotes from Democrats and horribly racist comments, and asked for some examples of this anger, of this extremism. And my former middle school principal instead defriended me, which I find typical, of a losing argument. Call me an extremist, say that I'm this or that. Okay, what are your examples? Defriend. So you attack the person who takes your argument and leaves it in disarray. You attack that person personally and then hang up the phone. I guess that's the way that works. At any rate, with friends like this, yeah, you get it. I think I'll sleep okay. Speaking of racism and political correctness and so forth, there's a young man named Brian Staskevich. He's an Iraq War veteran, and he has found himself in a First Amendment fist fight after having the nerve to take on the Black Lives Matter movement. Maybe he's an angry extremist himself. He did this as a college newspaper columnist for the Wesleyan Argus. The Wesleyan Argus. Brian Staskevich, 30-year-old Wesleyan University student who served 2 tours of duty in Iraq, penned an op-ed piece in the school newspaper that criticized the Black Lives Matter movement for creating an environment he believes advocates violence by spreading anti-police hatred and questioned the movement's legitimacy. Here's part of what he wrote. Is the movement itself actually achieving anything positive? And this was published, by the way, September 14th, titled Why Black Lives Matter Isn't What You Think. He goes on to say this. It boils down to this for me. If vilification and denigration of the police force continues to be a significant portion of Black Lives Matter's message, then I will not support the movement. I cannot support the movement. And many Americans feel the same way. Is it worth another riot that destroys a downtown district, another death, another massacre? At what point will Black Lives Matter go back to the drawing table and rethink how they are approaching the problem? He questioned. He said that certain actions by the movement's extremists, like calling for more pig police officers to fry like bacon, should be condemned by the movement's leaders. As members of a university community, we always have the right to respond with our own opinions, but there is no right not to be offended. At least that guy got it right, because that was a quote from the Wesleyan University president, Michael Roth. Let me say that again. because Michael Roth would be a good person to hold up. I'm sure he's an extremist too, but here's what he says. As members of a university community, we always have the right to respond with our own opinions, but there is no right not to be offended. Amen. Amen. Now, the opinion piece, as you can imagine, unleashed a firestorm of criticism, first directed at Staskevich and later at the school newspaper and its editors. Staskevich said he's been called a racist by students on campus, while some activists are calling the school's student government to defund the newspaper. Well, good Lord, it said something offensive. I don't like it. Let's take their money away. Typical liberal behavior. You don't like the message, we will crush you and shut you down. Oh, we believe in the freedom of speech. We believe in the First Amendment. Until you say something we don't like, at which point we will take your money away. We will mock you, ridicule you, and attack you in the streets. Typical liberal behavior. A petition demanding the Wesleyan Argus lose funding unless it meets certain demands has signatures from hundreds of students, staff, and recent alumni. Signatories threatened to boycott the paper because they said it fails to provide a safe space for the voices of students of color, and we are doubtful that it will in the future. Provide a safe space where we're free from thought and have nothing to challenge our status quo and our indoctrination, is what it should say. The Steve Gruber Show, by the way, is not a safe space for you. Freedom of thought and the intense discussion of topics and ideas will be heard here. The free exchange of ideas will be heard here. This is not a safe space. This is a place for voices of all people. White, black, I don't care. Your voices are welcome here, but we will not silence those that you don't agree with. The university's administration continued to defend Staskevich's right to free speech over the weekend, thank God. Debates can raise intense emotions, but that doesn't mean that we should demand ideological conformity because people are made uncomfortable. That again was Michael Roth, the university president. He wrote in a blog post along with Provost Joyce Jacobson and Vice President for Equity and Inclusion Antonio Farias. Let me say that again. Debates can raise intense emotions, but that doesn't mean that we should demand ideological conformity because people are made uncomfortable. This guy ought to run for president. This guy gets it. And unfortunately, so many people do not get it anymore, but he does. Thankfully, he does. And one more thing. As members of a university community, we always have the right to respond with our own opinions, but there is no right not to be offended. I told you that. We certainly have no right to harass people because we don't like their views, said the administration. Censorship diminishes true diversity of thinking. Vigorous debate enlivens and instructs. Thank God there is a college somewhere in this country that gets it. Uncomfortable questions and comments are part of the vigorous debate in this country that America is founded on. Anyhow, there you have it. It's Free for All Friday, by the way. 888-900-9966. I know I'm an angry extremist, but I'm prepared to live with it. It's the Steve Gruber Show.
Getting your day started with news from around the state and around the world. Common Sense Radio. This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Where are we going this time?
All righty, it's 18 after. Free for All Friday, 888-900-9966. 888-900-9966. It's the Steve Gruber Show. I appreciate you tuning it in. Yeah, I'm an extremist, and I'm an angry extremist, apparently, according to some. I'm prepared to live with that. I'm prepared to live with it. I guess that's because I have principles, guidelines, and standards. Principles, guidelines, and standards make people, take a dim view of you because you don't just roll with it and accept just everything. Well, I'm not going to accept just everything. You're not tolerant, that's right, of several things, most notably stupidity. 888-900-9966, our next guest. Chris Heben believes the Syrian refugee crisis is becoming a Trojan horse tactic of old with a sinister twist. He also just released his autobiography, Undaunted. We'll talk about that as well. Chris, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. Good morning, brother.
How you doing? 14 years since the terrorist attacks in 2011. You were an elite American soldier. Let's talk about your book real quickly here, Undaunted. Tell me about this book.
Well, Undaunted it's an autobiography, it talks about my successes and most importantly my failures. Show me someone who has never faced failure, who has never failed at anything, and I'll show you someone who's never lived at all. Anyone can suffer success, right? It's how you bounce back from failures that really defines you as a person. So that's it. I've got a few of them in that book, and they're very poignant. It's full bore me. It's the truth, and it was a project to write it. I'll tell you that right now. It was very cathartic.
I can appreciate that. So I guess
as a SEAL, my time in training, and my time as a covert government contractor for State Department, Central Intelligence Agency, and so on and so forth.
I think that I think you're right about how you lose says a lot more about you than how you win. I think that's my takeaway there.
Yeah, correct.
Absolutely. So here, let's talk about this refugee crisis now, and the Pope basically standing in front of Congress, in effect wagging his finger at Republicans, saying, "You need to take everybody. You guys need to be more generous. More generous. America takes more immigrants, both legal and illegal, than any nation on earth, and always has every year of my life. And yet, that's not good enough, apparently, for the liberals who say we should take them all." Of course, do they realize that these refugees, many of them, especially Muslims, pretty much hate everything that liberals stand for? Do they get it? Do they read?
It's shocking, isn't it? Especially the female liberals. They are so pro-Islam, in many instances, pro-Sharia. And I'm thinking to myself, don't they realize that if Sharia law was anywhere close to them, they would be treated as just like a piece of property, like a piece of meat? I don't understand that. If you're homosexual under Sharia law, under Islam,
death.
They're shooting you in the head or throwing you off a building and killing you.
That's right. If you're an adulterer and a woman,
it is not a religion of peace.
No, if you're a woman who commits adultery, they bury you up to your shoulder, with the arms at your side, bury you, and then stone you, literally stone you to death.
Yeah,
and this happens in places like Saudi Arabia, for God's sake.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen extreme punishments like that. You can take a bus ride to some places in Saudi and witness public punishments where people are actually hands cut off and are beheaded.
Unbelievable. All right, so you think that this whole thing with the Syrian refugee crisis and even maybe at the southern border is the way to get terrorists and would-be terrorists into the country?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and there's no doubt to a certain extent there are people that are legitimately fleeing a catastrophic social situation where they're being persecuted and at risk of dying. There's no question. But when you look at a lot of this footage in still photography, you're seeing military-age men, 16, 17 to 35, and they're very well-dressed. They have smartphones. I'm thinking to myself, those people need to be in their own country fighting for what they believe in, not fleeing. That's what I'm seeing. And they're unvetted. You don't know what their backgrounds are, who has trained them, what their intentions.
You might find out that Americans have trained them, unfortunately, and then they turn around and come back at us. Chris Heben, how do you say your last name for sure? Heben?
Heben, like Heben there.
There you go. My mistake. All right, Chris Heben here, and he's a Navy SEAL for 10 years. And you've also written this book, Undaunted, about the trials and failures of your life and the successes as well. And you've been on the front lines. You've seen this extremism. And what do we do to stop it is my question.
Well, we can take a very first a good step by not allowing anyone from this current exodus from Syria into our country, period. We can't do it. If you look at the birth rate of a country or a nation or a region, that's what's most important in allowing that nation, country, or region to prosper. You need a birth rate of 2.1 per household or higher. Currently, right now in Europe, Spain has the highest birth rate at 1.8, and France has the lowest at 1.3. Their most significant source of new population growth has been immigration, and immigration from Islam. So
that's right.
And you know what? The United States is not far behind. We're at 1.6. I mean, we're not doing very well at all. We're at 1.6. Our saving grace has been that the immigrants we've taken in have, by and large, been from Latin America or Mexico, i.e., they're Catholics.
There you go.
That's our saving grace.
Well, and grace is the word. Let me ask you something, Chris, before we go too far. Where do you live?
I currently live, Philadelphia and Cleveland, Ohio. I bounce back and forth between those two locations.
Cleveland might be all right. You know, if you go south out of Cleveland, there's an old Boy Scout camp about 45 miles south of Cleveland where there's really big whitetails, really big bucks. And by the way, Ohio's bow hunting season opens tomorrow, just so you know, Chris, because I don't want you to miss out on that. Because if I didn't mention it, Chris also is part of Under Armour's hunting TV show, Ridge Reaper, on the Outdoor Channel, where my show, Outdoor America, has been airing for 22 years. Chris, have a great day, my friend. We'll talk deer hunting a little bit more next time you're on.
Perfect. I would love to. Thank you so much.
There you have it. Chris Heben, everybody. You can check out the book, Undaunted, and find out more about this American hero. It's Free for All Friday on the Steve Gruber Show.
The Steve Gruber Show. American values with Midwestern common sense.
So a lot of people tell me over and over and over again, about Art Prize. In fact, Ivy and I, when we were at the baseball game at Comerica Park here a couple of days ago. Were you at the game Wednesday, right? Yeah, Wednesday, I guess. People there, a bunch of them from the Grand Rapids, West Michigan area, talking about Art Prize. And we're like, okay, never been, heard about it. Need an explanation, and they told us a few things. But Katie Moore here is the Art Prize Exhibitions Manager on the phone with us here this morning to talk more about it. Katie, welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you.
Well, these folks at the Tiger game all loved it. Yeah, they were all fired up. They loved this Art Prize thing, and they said, well, I said, what is it, like an art contest? They said, no, there's like food and art and streets and this and that. So help me out, Katie. What is it?
Well, we're actually a world's largest art competition. We have over 400,000 people coming to Grand Rapids to view art. And this year we have 1,700 artists and 1,550 entries in 162 venues. So it is literally everywhere.
400,000 people.
Yes, that's what we have predicted for this year.
All right, so let's start with a place that's near and dear to my heart and to Ivy's heart. Food. I mean, let's just get right to it. We're foodies. We'll get to the art, but we can't look at the art if we don't have a full stomach. We don't want to be cranky. We want to know what our options are.
Well, right next to the Grand Rapids Art Museum, there is a variety of food trucks, which I have been visiting every day, so I can tell you that they are amazing.
Love food trucks.
Yeah. Then, you can go to really any restaurant here because there's art in it. So it's just, you're going to see the art, you can eat at the same time. It works out really well.
So do you have parts of the city that are blocked off and so forth?
No, it's all really open. We have a few pop-up parks around, and those are the only streets that are shut down. And they're only partially shut down, so it's still easy to get around here.
So it's really easy. Okay, so and with the weather today and through the weekend, my gosh, you couldn't ask for more.
No, I'm trying not to jinx it, but it seems good so far. It's beautiful. It's definitely great to get out the first weekend. Everyone's really excited. The artists are usually still around this time. So you can meet them, and everyone's just friendly and welcoming, and it's great to learn more and see everything.
And I'm guessing if you're looking for that great new piece for the house or for a gift or something, everything's for sale, right?
Not everything, but you can tell on our app if it is listed for sale, then you can reach out directly to the artist.
No, everything has a price sooner or later, Katie. It's just a matter of what the price is. Yeah, there is that. Katie Moore with us, the Art Prize Exhibitions Manager. All right, so tell me about the art itself. What kinds of things are we talking about? What did you say, 1,400 artists?
1,500. So
Okay, 1,500.
there's literally everything. Tonight there's an opening over at Site Lab, which is our newest satellite venue. So it's over off Rumsey Street, kind of behind Founders, and it's a whole city block. And they have everything from installation to performances tonight, and you can see everything. And it's open to the public, so definitely check that out.
All right, so 1,500 artists. I mean, are we talking all mediums? Are we talking sculpture, painting, drawing? What's out there?
It can be whatever you want it to be. There's, from sculptures to paintings to crazy installations. On the Calder Plaza, there's this giant piece called Current Collections, which is a big sculpture out of Florida. And, then you have smaller stuff, and we welcome everything. We really don't have any limits on what you can show here.
All right, well, there you have it. And Katie Moore, this runs September 23rd through October the 11th.
Yeah.
Where can people find out more? And is there online or social media resources?
Yes, artprize.org, and then also if you download our app, it'll get you around the whole city, and then you can vote on it as well.
All right, and I, I'm a bit of an artist myself. I was thinking about carving a pumpkin today. And so how do serious artists get involved? How do they submit for consideration? And what is, I haven't asked you this, what is the grand prize?
The grand prize is $200,000 awards, and so it's pretty high stakes.
And what's number two? What's second place, Katie?
There's a short list, but we have $500,000 total in prizes. And so those are split up. But we also have a jury vote, which we bring art professionals in from around the world, and then they jury the top prizes. So they're heading into town right now, and then on Monday they'll release their list of finalists at the event we have here at 7 p.m. at the Hub. But yeah, artists
$200,000
in the year.
Yeah, $200,000. You won't be a starving artist at least for a couple of days at $200,000.
No, you're doing okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice prize, I'd say. All right, and how do people submit and get involved?
Yeah, so you get on our website back for June, and you just make a profile, and it's actually all independently organized, so artists and venues find each other. It works kind of like a dating site. You have a picture and all your information, and then they email back and forth, and what we call get married, and then they show there.
Yeah. So that's the way you get started. All right. Real quickly again, the website, and for people to find out more information is
artprize.org.
It's pretty hard to remember. Artprize.org. There it is. And I won't jinx you, Katie. 400,000 people will see it between September the 23rd, a couple of days ago, and the end on the 11th of October. What an event. Katie Moore, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You as well. There you have it. And the weather's going to be absolutely perfect. And, the folks we were talking to, and we were down at the baseball game Wednesday, and everybody was raving about Art Prize.
Yeah, raving. Well, they're all from the Grand Rapids area, and they just could not stop talking about how incredibly cool all of these, art pieces are, and just, the amount of people that are there.
Sure.
So.
And they made the same comment that Katie did. The art's on display in all sorts of places. Some of the local restaurants, out in different park areas, different venues for the art. When you have 1,500 artists, obviously it's not all in one place. It's in a variety of places. And but I like the idea of those food trucks.
Absolutely, that's our main reason for going. I mean, we absolutely love art, but we love food more, I think.
Well, food is art. Food is art. Let's not confuse the issue here. And for the weekend, if you're looking for something to do that is absolutely different, or want to take the kids or the family, apparently Art Prize is the place to be. And I think Ivy and I are going to sneak over there so we can give you a review and tell you more about it, because we have never been, and we intend to break that streak and make this Art Prize 7. So this is number 7. And $500,000. I mean, that's significant cash.
It is. It's
$500,000.
$200,000 to the grand prize winner. That's really good.
I suppose if you worked on something for a whole year, it's okay if you get $200,000.
Absolutely.
I didn't hear what the second place position was, but anyhow, $500,000, and it's all happening this weekend. So if you're looking for something to do here in the great state of Michigan, there it is. It's Art Prize. It's in Grand Rapids, and just look for Ivy and I. We'll be the ones with food on our face.
Or check back in on Monday, and we'll give you the rundown on all the great food trucks and the great pieces of art that we've seen.
That's right, because it runs through October the 11th. It's just getting geared up. So we'll try to give you some feedback on that. All right, there you have it. It's Free for All Friday, by the way. You can check in if you'd like. 888-900-9966. 888-900-9966. Straight ahead, let's talk some college football, shall we? Good idea. It's the Steve Gruber Show.
Covering Michigan and the world from his bunker below the bridge. Here is Steve Gruber.
Well, I'm not sure Ivy's ready to get that Sparty tattoo yet, but she sure is enjoying the time we spent there at tailgating. What are you looking at me like that for? Big old block S, you know?
Come on.
You know? It's college football, the greatest game ever invented, and we'll be over there tomorrow at Spartan Stadium having some fun with the tailgating before the game tomorrow. Big college football weekend, of course, again. And the Spartans ranked number 2 in the country. Can you imagine? Number 2 in the country. And a long time ago, there was a coach at Michigan State for a little bit of time, 3-4 years, whatever he was there, Nick Saban, who then, made his tour around the nation and into the NFL and then back into college. And our next guest says he is the best bargain in college football, Nick Saban is. Let's check in with Monte Burke, staff writer at Forbes. Monte, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on.
So, Nick Saban, the best bargain in college football. Really? Why do you say that?
Well, I wrote a book about him, and it sounds ridiculous to say that because Nick Saban made $7.2 million last year. So it sounds absolutely ridiculous, especially when you put it in context of the fact that he's, coaching players who aren't paid. But in the research for my book about Saban, I came across a lot of very interesting facts and figures, and in particular about how much money Saban and his football program have made for the University of Alabama. And this goes, this is not just money that goes into academics. Basically, Alabama's upgraded all of their academic facilities based on the back of the football program, but also their academic endeavors. The president of the University of Alabama embarked on a $500 million capital campaign and said that Nick Saban was responsible for hundreds of thousands of donors to that campaign, which ended up being successful. So, it's a hard thing for some to digest. Even me, I feel makes you feel a little bit queasy to think that these guys could possibly be bargains, especially since they're coaching, players who don't make any money. But I think these brand name coaches, Saban, Meyer, Harbaugh, maybe D'Antonio, one of these days, what they bring to the university far outweighs, any sort of problems that they might bring as well.
And you mentioned the, Urban Meyer and Jim Harbaugh, who's won exactly one college football game so far. But they are brand names. And then, D'Antonio, he gets the short end of this deal. Let's be honest. D'Antonio's never even been on Sports Illustrated. He has built a program for 7 years. He's never even been on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Is there something wrong with that?
No, he's got to. I mean, Harbaugh has never won a national title. So, his brand comes from the fact that he was, took Stanford. He was a player beforehand. So he kind of had this inherent, and he coached in the NFL. So his brand is a little easier. Urban Meyer has now won 3 national titles. That is a brand. I think D'Antonio just has to win a national title, frankly, or at least be in the conversation. When you become one of these big brands like Harbaugh, did you read that Nike signed that huge deal with Michigan?
Biggest ever.
Harbaugh came in. They weren't going to do that with Brady Hoke.
No, it wasn't going to happen. And Harbaugh signed the biggest deal ever. It's secret, of course. But their last contract stipulated that if anybody else got a bigger deal, theirs would automatically be increased to still be the number one deal. I am sure, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that they did the same thing this time around at Michigan, because Michigan will be number one in attendance and number one in merchandising. That's just the way they write it, even though they haven't had a good football team in 7 years.
Yeah. They're going to have a tough time beating Ohio State. Ohio State's actually number one in merchandising this year because of the national title win. And, Michigan, what was funny about Michigan, they had to give away tickets last year to keep that streak alive of the home games, sellouts and all that sort of stuff. They didn't have any problem with that. Again, these guys like Harbaugh, Meyer, and Saban, Harbaugh comes in, all of a sudden they have no problem selling season tickets. In fact, now they have a waiting list for 2016. So, D'Antonio's doing it the other way. There are other ways to do this, right? He's doing it the other way. He's building a program. He's not a brand name yet. But that's fine. He's done an incredible job. And, of course, he worked under Saban when Saban was at Michigan State. He's a Saban apostle.
Yeah, there you go. And, so Nick Saban makes the big brand names. And I guess, okay, Monty, last question for you. What's it going to take for Jim Harbaugh to secure that kind of merchandising and crowd? Does he have to win a national title to hang on?
I think so. I think with this, even when you make the case these guys are bargains when it comes to what they bring in money-wise, they're at the top. There's a lot of pressure that comes with being one of the highest-paid coaches in college football. And, with that pressure, we've seen people fold under that pressure. Many years ago, Philip Fulmer couldn't handle it at Tennessee, and he got fired. So we'll see. If Harbaugh doesn't produce something approximating a national title-looking team in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, it's going to be. I'd be surprised if he hangs on. These are instant. We want instant results these days, especially these big programs.
No question. You look at a job like Texas, where they did win the national title, and then they had a couple of dry years. And they're calling for the guy's head. Right. Come on, he won you the national title.
They fired him. They fired Mac Brown.
Exactly.
He won them the national title. Then they bring in this new guy, and the guy, he's starting his second year, and he lost the game, and everyone's calling for his head already.
Exactly.
That's the pressure. In some ways, Michigan State is in a better position because they don't have to do that right away. They can do this slow build. I know D'Antonio, he's been good for a long time, but it's been sort of a nice slow build that they've been doing there. And maybe this is the year that they capitalize on it.
All right. Well, greatly appreciate it, Monty. And it's a good lesson. It's big money. We all know that. Monte Burke, staff writer at Forbes. And Nick Saban's the best bargain, maybe, but a lot of good coaches around and a lot of big money flying around. We'll check it out tomorrow at the tailgates at Michigan State. Monty, have a great weekend.
Thank you very much for having me on. See you later.
There you have it. It's the Steve Gruber Show on a Friday. We had time for another call or two if you're up for it. 888-900-9966. Anything on your mind. Football, art prize, politics, whatever tickles your fancy. 888-900-9966. Free for all Friday on the Steve Gruber Show.